Hello and welcome to Filmi Ladies. It's another superstar series, and it's time for Urmila.
Yay!
The more I thought about Urmila Matondkar, the more I watched, the more confused I got. So I don't know where this conversation is going to go, at least for me. Pitu, what did you watch slash rewatch to prepare?
I rewatched Ek Hasina Thi because it is such a brilliant movie and so good.
And we talk about it all the time in passing, so it's good to like
Yes.
focus.
And funnily enough, Ek Hasina Thi was released on January 18th, 2004. So it's like exactly 20 years later it's still January. So 20 years later, we're talking about it.
Do you mean 2005?
No, I think it was 2000. Are we in 2005? I don't even know what time is anymore. Time is a construct,
It's
Beth.
exactly 21 years old. It's all good.
I will check. I will check. And I also watched Dillagi, which is a movie that I had seen once very briefly a long time ago, only because it was Sunny Deol's debut directorial venture.
Mm,
So Ik Hasina Thi is from 2004.
okay.
Yeah, January
But
2004.
he's a
Yeah,
January
so
baby.
and I rewatched Dillagi, which I had completely forgotten, and it has both the Deol brothers and Urmila is with them, and it's a floofy romantic movie with very bad rich boy behavior in it, and like entertaining songs and like college life and things like that. So it was a good palate cleanser after the craziness that is Ek Hasina Thi.
Mm,
Which movies did you watch?
okay. I attempted four movies.
Oh God.
I did not make it through four. So I rewatched Rangeela because I
Hmm.
don't think we can talk about her without talking about
Yeah.
that. So I rewatched that to refresh myself. Then I watched Khoobsurat, which, as far as I can tell, is one of at least four Hindi films called Khoobsurat.
Yes.
And that is a mostly comedy sort of with Sanjay Dutt, which is in the sort of Anand vein of like
Mm.
man comes to family and improves their life.
Yeah.
I just
Anand,
watched another,
Bawarchi.
yeah, and I just watched, oh, I didn't we just watch a Shami Kapoor movie that has this same plot? I feel like we've just watched this same plot, and maybe both of us have.
Mm.
Um, anyway, this plot is out there. It happens a lot, obviously. And then I watched Pyaar Tune Kya Kiya which is basically, according to Wikipedia, Fatal Attraction, which
Ah.
I have seen Fatal Attraction. I don't remember it at all, but it, woman goes bananas, stalks,
Mhm.
is violent with Fardeen Khan. But really it's the Urmila show, so I'm glad I picked it. And it's obviously one of
Right.
her examples of not standard heroine, so I was glad to see
Right.
that. And then I also started Kunwara with
Govinda?
Govinda, David Dhawan joint. I got about, I don't know, 1 hour into it, so maybe about a third, and that was enough. I couldn't take it anymore, so I stopped.
I've never seen Kumara, despite enjoying David Dhawan, Govinda shenanigans. And I've surprisingly never seen Pyaar Tune Kya Kiya. I've only heard the title song. I think I watched it on video or something like that, but I've never actually seen that movie.
I would say that you could watch this. I mean, watch the songs from Kunwar because they're good dancers together,
Yeah.
obviously. And they're kind of extended, the first chunk of it where they're interacting is okay, but it has an extended joke about Johnny Lever having to pretend that he's a corpse. And
Oh
it just
God.
goes on. And it's not a corpse like Weekend at Bernie's exactly, but they are like Govinda, he and Govinda are friends. Govinda's trying to like for reasons. She has to be convinced Johnny Lever is a corpse. Govinda's trying to make it work. Like they put him in the fridge and then he,
Oh
and
Lord.
like all this stuff. So that goes on a really long time. It's funny for about 3 minutes and then
Hmm.
funny. And then Nagma enters as a pregnant woman whose man has left her. uh,
Okay.
and Govinda decides, like, I'll pretend to marry you to honor is it blah 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 blah. And then I was out. I was like, nope, there's a rich family who's
Oh,
moaning on about is it Om Puri plays the dad. I'm like, nah,
oh,
no, I'm done.
Opuri.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Om Puri is also in Khoobsurat. So I was like, huh,
Uh,
interesting to see him in these
so
masala-y
is
things.
this Khoobsurat, because I have seen Khoobsurat, but it was ages ago, and all I remember is the two songs in it, the Urmila, Urmila, Pyaar Wala Gulkhila, and then the Ae Shivani, which Sanjay Dutt has sung completely out of tune, and it's so badly sung, but it's entertaining at
It's
the same
such a
time.
cute song. I really liked
Yeah.
that song, and it contained the line, something like "Tu kahani hai flop"
Oh.
or "Tu kahani flop hai" or something like that. It's
Oh
very.
my
I
gosh.
just thought that was so funny.
So is this Khoobsurat essentially like the Rekha and Sonam Kapoor Khoobsurat with the
Wait,
genders flipped?
oh, I suppose. I suppose it
Okay.
kind of is. Yeah.
So we have Sanjay Dutt
Yeah.
filling
I
the
guess
Rekha's
so.
shoes.
I hadn't thought about that, but now that you say it, it's
Mm,
obvious. And for the record, I like both of those Khoobsurats, but I like
mm,
the Sonam Kapoor one more. I know this
right.
is shocking, and it's not that I like Sonam Kapoor better than Rekha, but I like everything else about that one better. So I tip in favor of the newer one, which I know is shocking. Um,
Could you imagine if someone unironically said that they prefer Sonam Kapoor to Rekha just in general? Oh my God, the internet would go up in
I mean,
flames.
I that would be shocking, but also I do think she does. This is my favorite of her films by a long shot.
Okay.
That I think she does really well in it. It's a comfort watch actually. I'm not sure why I didn't remember it for the comfort watch episode that we did.
Right.
But anyway, so those are my films, and I feel like I got a good sample. I got Rangeela, which
Yeah.
is kind of standalone, amazing.
Hmm.
Then I got Psycho. Then I got comedy. It's Khoobsurat is not her film, even though the
Right.
title refers to her. Like it's just it's really the Sanjay Dutt show, and it wasn't. That's
Right.
not a in this case not a bad thing, but
Right.
so it's sort of like comedy complement, and then you know
Right.
a
And then I
good
did a
variety.
comedy and I did like a neo-noir thriller. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like we've kind of covered all the genres. The
Mm-hmm.
only genre we didn't touch was horror. And
Mm-hmm.
I personally think Urmila's best performance ever is in Con, which is the horror movie, but I didn't do that
I
for
was
this
tempted by
episode.
Boot, but I didn't. I thought I might be too
Mm,
scared, so I didn't try that. But
yeah.
oh
So
gosh.
tell us about Rangila. Start with that.
Well, so I feel like I'm trying to come up with a unified theory of Armilla for myself here and like what is her unique selling point and all this stuff. And I don't know what I think. I came in more confident than I left, which is interesting. But um I love this movie. Everybody loves this movie. I especially love the songs. Everybody loves the songs.
Yeah.
I think its title track might be, I don't know. I don't tend to think of it when I think of my favorite Hindi film songs, but I
It's
should.
amazing.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. And what I love most about it, well, first of all, two things. One, I was struck today by how similar the start of this movie is to the start of Tull, which also has a woman artist, dreaming or imagining
Mm.
her own creative self
Output and yeah.
expressing that in a very free and open and self-determined way and like more of that and
Yeah.
and I put those two songs on back to back and just loving them and like as I've discussed I love Tall but um so that's amazing but then also I was thinking about how much I love that Rangila Ray as a love song to herself about herself, right?
Yeah.
And I know this movie's like technically a romance in some ways, but like these two dudes don't matter. It's about
No.
her and her growth and her thinking about what she wants and how to
Yeah.
get it and all these things and her self-determination and the amazing support she has from her family. Like nobody criticizes her for wanting to go into films. Nobody tells her your dream is stupid. She's
Yeah.
obviously working hard at it. She says she's in Saroj Khan's dance troupe. She talks about
Yeah.
like stay longer so you can learn. Don't just go home when your job is over, which I mean,
Hmm.
don't work if they don't pay you, but like, yes,
Right.
absorb what you can. I don't the romances are fine, but I'm in Rangila for her.
Yes.
Um and watching her in this role is such a joy. Ram Gopal Varma, like when he's on, he's on. And
Yeah.
it's too bad he's so gross because so much of this movie is expert and some of his
Yeah.
other films as well. And oh, I just love it. I don't know what to say about Rangila that hasn't been said 8 million times, but
Yeah.
I do think this movie is absolutely phenomenal. And I don't think I like her anywhere as
Hmm.
much as I do in this film. What about you?
Hmm. She's amazing in Rangila. Like she's you can't replace her with anyone else. No one else would be able to pull that role off because she's this combination of a dreamer and, but and like this positive, optimistic, ambitious, driven, hardworking person, but she's also very real,
Hmm.
which is such a hard combination
Hmm.
to write into a character. She's also like no nonsense compared to
She's so
Munna,
it's
who
so
is like
grounded.
so,
Like
yeah,
she
she's
feet
so,
on the ground.
yeah, like this is a real person. And the
Yeah.
more real she is, the more ridiculous the male leads actually look because
Yeah.
Munna is like off building castles in the sky.
And which I
Um,
think Jackie Schroff's character realizes at the end when he,
mhm,
okay, spoiler alert, you all, for Rangeela, 30 years old. He when he unites them or helps unite them at the end or get her to Muna, he laughs. And I feel like that's him kind of waking up from his reverie
right.
about what his relationship with her could have been and that she
Hmm.
belongs elsewhere. Now, do I think that automatically means she belongs with Muna? No, but she
No,
and Muna seem to think so.
right.
They like each other, they know each other, her
Yeah,
family likes him. Like I feel like they've got a good shot and he's not going to get in her way.
right. Yeah, he's at least going to support her.
And I think
Um,
Jackie Kamal, is that his name? Kamal would have gotten in her way actually,
yeah,
because
for sure.
even if he didn't mean to, his celebrity and his existing status would have gotten in her way. So
Hmm.
this is
Yeah,
this is
she's
right.
her performance in it is amazing. Her dances in it are so good. I love her in all the songs.
I think I like her dancing even more than I do out of the songs. Like,
Hmm.
and I'm not saying I think she's a weak actor, but I think she's even stronger as a dancer, which is utilized so perfectly
Yeah,
in this film. And the choreography is so
so
interesting
good.
and,
Yeah.
a little different in some cases than things that were happening elsewhere. And then obviously the Rahman music is
Yeah.
a zillion
This
percent great.
Rangeela is one of those movies where everybody was doing their job to the best of their ability. So
Yeah.
RGV was doing his best. Amir Khan as Munna is
He's
amazing.
so good.
He's
Yeah.
so
He's
good.
really good.
Like his outfits and
Yeah.
he's just so cheeky and
And
silly.
you know what? I'm going to say something that I don't think I've said before. I've thought this for a long time. I don't think this is a common opinion. I like Amir as a dancer at this point, like in the
Okay.
90s. I think I, I'm not going to say like, oh, he's as good as Rithik or anything, but I think
Yeah.
he's good in the songs in this. And maybe it's a
Hmm.
match of character to choreography or something, but like,
Right.
I know he's not quite up to what she's doing, but he's pretty close and he
Yeah.
brings the right energy to it, I think. So I was glad to be reminded of that
Yeah.
as a
I
dancing actor, it's pretty
I
good
feel like I don't
for me.
really think of Amir's dancing.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
No, I know. It's a weird opinion.
Right. But then when you said it, I was like, yeah, I don't disagree with you. Like when people think about like the good dancers, he doesn't get
No,
mentioned.
no.
But then when they talk about the bad dancers, a lot the deals, no one mentions him then either. It's just like
Yeah. And maybe
he
the
just
bar
doesn't
is
come
so
up.
low for men that it
Right.
seems really good to me, but and I don't want to give too much power to the whole like actor Almir the actor kind of persona and whatever, which was not in place at this time, I don't think, at
Right.
least not as publicly, but I feel like he's doing what the hero should do, you know?
Yeah.
And who's way better than Jackie Schroff.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Jackie is definitely like the weaker character, but I think he does his part with like
he does.
gusto and he's fun.
Hmm.
But the songs also in this movie are so unusual, like Hai Rama, that
Yeah.
song in the desert. It's so beautifully done. And I feel like Urmila emotes so amazingly in the dances where
Mhm.
she's not just doing the steps,
No, not at
but
all.
she's really doing it all in a way. This is actually a thing I have thought sometimes about Sridevi. Because
Yeah.
when I watch some Sridevi films, it's kind of like I almost feel like all the acting in that movie happened in the songs themselves.
Yeah.
Like that happens sometimes in Chandani, that happens in Lamhe, where it's
Mm,
like the amount of
mm,
acting she's done outside of the songs in Lamhe is not as much as the acting she's done in the songs, right? So,
yeah.
yeah, no, Rangila is definitely like my favorite Urmila film.
Oh, yeah.
But then I also really love Satya. Oh, that movie is
She's
so good.
extremely good in that too.
Ram Gopal Verma again,
Right.
just amazing. And Manoj Bajpayee.
So what's the story? I didn't really look. I've never read Ram Gopal Varma's autobiography. Um, but clearly there's that long association of those two. What do you know about it?
Not a lot. I mean, I think they just had like such a great professional chemistry where she was like the perfect actor for him to cast. And the thing about Urmila, it's interesting what you said earlier, where you didn't quite know where to sort of slot her, like what
I
her unique selling
don't.
proposition is. I think that's because she's insanely versatile. So
Mm,
you can't actually slot her. Like, I
mm,
can't think of anyone, like, our last Superstars episode was on Juhi Chawla, right? And I
mm,
maintain that Juhi Chawla, although I like her, is one of the most one note actors out there.
mm,
Give her comedy, great. Give her
yeah.
romance, fine. Everything else she fumbles. Urmila does everything well. Like,
Mm,
you can give her the dramatic movies where she has to do the crazy eyes and she has to be a little bit unhinged, like teetering on the edge of insanity, like Ek Hasina Thi or Con or, things like that. She's great in that. But she can also do the straight romantic movies really well. I don't know why you would
mm,
cast her in those though, because you could just take a weaker actor instead of her. But she can do those too. She's amazing at dances. So if you
yeah.
want her to play an artist like she does
Yeah.
in Rangeela, she's great in that. She has these big saucer eyes and this very dainty frame and this kind of almost fairy
Yeah.
vibe about her,
Yeah.
like very naive and innocent, which is why she can play an innocent, sheltered person, as like in Satya, who is so easy to fool
Yeah.
and so gullible. She can do that really well too. And she's actually also really good in comedy. So it's kind of hard to slot her because she does everything well. And I love that she took so many risks with her career. I can't
Hmm.
think of a 90s actress who did as many different roles as she did and took as many risks as she did.
Do you think she is better at all of these things than Charisma Kapoor?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't even think Karishma Kapoor is a particularly good actor. They're both decent dancers, but Urmila is definitely a step
Okay.
above Karishma in dancing. And Karishma just is underwhelming in so many roles. Like I mean, like we were saying in the Kapoor's
Yeah.
episode, I don't even know if we would have considered
No,
Karishma a
I don't
superstar
think
if it
so.
were. I mean, her sister is a
Yeah.
superstar,
Well, and so
but
that then this was like after I watched my three and a bit movies, I was like,
yeah,
do I think Urmila's a superstar? Like I did going in, and now I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know, but I don't. I'm not going to fight anyone who says she is a superstar, but I'm also
right.
not going to really. I can't put up too much of a defense that she is. If someone says she isn't, especially if you move Rangeela.
Right.
And can you be a superstar based on one film as the can one film be the tent pole for your superstar status? Probably it can, actually.
Yeah,
Probably.
but there's also other movies she's done where she was the movie, like
Right.
Gone or Booth,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
Satya, you could say, well, it was all the people,
It's
it was the
everyone.
whole movie.
Yeah.
But Gone and Booth are completely her
Yeah.
films. Like those are
Yeah.
movies you watch for her. And Ek Hasina Thi, someone might go in because of Shriram Raghavan or they might go in for Saif, but it's really her
But
that is
did those make
the
her a
main person.
superstar?
I
Those are
actually
sort
think it
of,
was the commercial films that
I
made
was
her a
gonna say, because those
superstar.
are a little fringy, like
Yeah.
the edges of the mainstream.
I
So
think it's movies like Judai
yeah.
that made her the
And she's
superstar she is. And
it's
she's
so
so good at
hard to
Judai.
slot her.
It's kind of like,
Fascinating.
this is going to come up when we talk about Tabu as well, where it's kind of like the movies that made Tabu who she is are actually the very sort of parallel slash arty
Mhm.
slash indie movies. And some of the more masala movies that she's done are actually kind of terrible. Like Vijay
Yeah.
Pathan, Sajan. Like who the hell is watching Sajan Chale Sasural for her? You know what I
Right.
mean? So as far as the RGV thing is concerned, I think part of it was also luck. So I don't know if you know, but RGV was like unhealthily obsessed with Sri Devi.
Right.
Um, and he even became a director because like it was his dream to like meet Sri Devi and like cast her and stuff. And I know you
Mm.
haven't seen Must, but Must is a lot of it is kind of like
Yeah. I
biographical.
read the plot summary because I'd planned to watch that. Someone had recommended it. I was like, oh, I don't think so.
It's very much like you're like, oh, this is
Mm.
like if you want to know how RGV's brain works, maybe watch Must. But Must is interesting because it does give insight into like the whole Shri thing. Like I actually don't know how he managed to get away with making that movie because in Must, Urmila plays essentially very thinly veiled Sridevi, right?
Mhm.
And she plays this superstar who has all this money and fandom and fame and power and everything, and her family is completely parasitical and
Mm.
like that, and she has no opinions and thoughts of her own because
Mm.
she's so heavily controlled. Like there's a scene in Must that I actually really love, and Urmila plays it beautifully. This journalist asks her, he's asking her a few questions, and she's so timid and she's so scared, and she can't answer any question without looking over her shoulder to see what her manager is going to
Mm.
say. And at one point they're like, which movie are you starring in next? And she doesn't even know. um so I think with RJV, he didn't have access to Sridevi because she was such a gigantic star, and probably she knew this man was a creep. But then Urmila to me is a little bit of like a Sridevi light, to the point that they even look similar. Like they
Mm.
both have those like round, innocent faces with the big, like gigantic eyes and the deer in the headlights look and the high pitched voice. Like they both give girl more than woman. And you can really see that in Judai
Mm.
as well. Like in that one song in Judai where Urmila and Sridevi are dressed same and Anil is in the middle. I think it's shot in Vegas.
Mm. Mhm.
Pyaar
Yeah.
Pyaar Karte Karte. There's when they give their close-ups, it almost looks like the same person, but like
Yeah.
slightly younger versus slightly older. So I think with RGV, he basically found accessible Sridevi.
Yeah.
Now, I think this ended up being to Urmila's advantage because he gave her these amazing author back roles that I think her filmography is what it is because of RGV. I mean, she does owe him that at least. And of course, she was phenomenal. So I think he benefited as well because I don't know who else could have done justice to the
Yeah.
roles in Rangeela, Satya, like, all of these great films that their collaboration, you know, involves. So I think it was like a great creative partnership. I think there were also rumors about them having an affair and stuff, but I don't know how much truth those rumors have.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then what was the other movie you watched, Beth? Khoobsurat.
Oh, well, yeah, that and then the Fatal Attraction
Oh yeah. Tell me
remake.
about that one because I've seen Fatal Attraction. I remember the terrible scene with the rabbit
And there's no
in the
animal,
boiling pot.
there's no bunny in this one, no other
Mm,
animal either. Um, so she plays a character who I was trying to think if I thought this was a fully developed or at least moderately developed character, and I still don't
mm.
really know where I think. So really all you know about her is that her dad's very rich, Suresh Oberoi, and she is um when someone tells her no, she reacts extremely badly. She also has a very bad temper, or like a flies off the handle very fast about a variety of things. Although one of them is Fredine Khan plays a fashion photographer who comes across her doing yoga on a cliff in Goa, as you do, and takes
Yeah.
her pictures without her knowledge or
Mm,
consent, which she yells at him about later. But when she finds out, like their first couple of interactions are very, because
mm.
he's been and she's calling him out on his bad behavior. But then it's like, oh, he puts her picture on the cover of a new fashion magazine and everybody loves it. So then she becomes a model and then she falls in love with him and then he's already married. Um,
Oh.
to oh my God, I'm gonna forget her name. She was Seth's girlfriend in Dil Chahta Hai.
Oh, Sonali Kulkarni.
So lovely, so nice in this.
Yeah.
Um he Safardine's already married to her, and Urmila's like
Okay.
does not take no for an answer and pursues him despite him saying no, 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 and it
Oh,
gets
okay.
violent.
Oh.
But so you watch her sort of not sort of you watch her just she cannot accept this no, and she does all sorts of things that are bad to illegal to criminal. um she's very violent. She shows up at their apartment with a knife, and when someone opens the door she just slashes as soon as the door opens, so there's blood, and then at the end she is committed to a mental institution of a very old-fashioned variety. And
Okay.
her dad, begs the married couple to please let Fardine come see her on her birthday. And he's like, I know this is a bad idea, but how can I not try to do the best for my
To do
daughter?
what?
To go,
Forgive her?
just to go see her. And of course, she
Okay.
freaks out when he appears, and it's terrible. And you're like, why did anyone let this happen? But yeah. So does it win for portrayals, nuanced portrayals of mental illness? No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But it's also under 2 hours, like it moves right along. The songs are bonkers. There's that
Okay.
amazing song with them in like red. It's so early 2000s. It is like
Okay.
2000 just barfed all over everything. But this is an RGV produced film, and it does have a lot
Hmm.
of his kind of stamp on it. So stuff that, and I feel this way about Notch as well. Like it is, people are costumed revealingly. The camera
Hmm.
does linger, especially
Hmm.
on women, and they do interesting things with it. Unlike some people who do those same things and do not do anything interesting with it.
Right.
So I have to at least give them credit for that. So I think that song is really interesting to look at. It's filmed at like the ruins of a fort. Then there's a scene where all the dancers are in a big grid like cubes along a wall. So they're all moving together within
Oh,
this big
okay.
framed thing. It's really interesting. So um yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's a great movie, but I certainly enjoyed watching it. And her performance is obviously, she's on one hand like delighted and little girlish in her excitement when she realizes she's falling in love, and when
Mm.
she decides she's going to tell him she's in love with him, and then when he tells her, "Girl, I'm married," which he has not told her to this point. And I'm like, well, people who don't, it just seems kind of, it's sus, and she calls him
Like
on
it's
it, and I think
shady.
she's
Like she
right.
leads him.
Yeah,
He's leading her
I
on.
think I think he is. I really do think he is. I did not know this was a remake of Fatal Attraction ish going in, and I was like, and so when it turned out that he was married, I was like, what is happening here? Like, what? Who's
Right.
this guy? Of course, we've all met guys like that too. So, and he's Freddie Khan is not the most subtle of actors, but this is not the most subtle of written roles either. I think he's okay in it, but could have been anyone. Um, he too really goes for the dancing. It's interesting. Like he's given it his all. I'm not going to say he's great, but he's doing it. Um, but yeah, it's
We're giving
really,
him props for
yeah,
effort.
oh yeah, props for effort. And the choreographer gave him a full slate of stuff, like almost as much as they gave her. So,
Right.
um, Ishk, I think that
Oh
they
yeah, I
say that
remember
a
that
lot.
song.
I can't remember if that's what it's actually called, but that's
I
the song I
remember
always
it being
say.
quite an earworm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, watching her just, when she's violently attacking someone, and then he appears and is like, calm down, and tries to calm her down. And you watch her face just,
Mm.
first she doesn't believe him, and then she kind of falls back into a more,
Yeah.
normal thing. So she's really doing everything in this film. And I thought she was pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to see an Urmila,
Hmm.
all out Urmila show. This is a great one.
Yeah. I think she really excels at those sort of like quicksilver expressions,
Mhm.
where it's just like within 2 seconds you see her face do all the things,
Yeah.
which I can see why she would be attracted to this role then, because that's right
Yeah.
up her
And
alley.
because, as you said, she's quite little physically, right?
She's tiny. She's like 5 feet.
So she packs a lot in with that. And you can see that she's small in a
Yeah.
lot of the shots here, but she's still terrifying, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I think that is actually one of my favorite things about Urmila, like especially when I was rewatching Ek Hasina Thi, which I'd seen it a long time ago, but it
Mhm.
had really stayed with me because it's Ek Hasina Thi. How can it not? But I think the fact that she's so dainty,
Yeah.
like she's tiny, she's very, very petite, almost fragile looking,
Yeah.
and she has these big, gigantic eyes, like very childlike sort of charm, I guess.
This
So it's
this movie also shows her, so that it opens, with her doing her yoga,
mm,
um, and someone better knowledgeable about yoga than I am can say like what was she actually doing? It's sort of yoga-ish anyway. There's another scene where you see her kind of doing an aerobics, and then she's using their handheld weights, but so I'm like, how often
mm,
do you see a woman with weights in
right.
Bollywood? Never. Never.
Right.
It's like we saw Juhi doing aerobics in one of the movies I watched for hers, but like, and they
Yeah.
show her arms, and like you can see her muscles. So I kind of like
Okay.
that they're like setting her up to be physically um
Strong.
Yeah, and a little bit maybe menacing is too strong a word, but like
Mm.
she's and with the fire of sort of her very inappropriate passion behind it, she's dangerous. She's really dangerous.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, it was like that in Ek Hasina Thi as well. Like, okay, first of all, Saif in this movie, he makes me so angry because his acting is amazing. Like,
Yeah.
no problems whatsoever with Saif Ali Khan's acting. He is amazing in this movie. Urmila is amazing in this movie, but his character just fills me with so much rage. He is such a bad person. So I kept taking screen caps and sending them to you on WhatsApp and sending, because I had the subtitles on. I couldn't turn them off on 9000. So I kept sending them to you, and I kept
Yeah.
sending them to my husband and a friend of mine with all these like angry emojis, because he's so sneaky and craven and horrible. And he just wants to put this poor sweet girl under the bus. And I love how her character is developed in Ek Hasina Thi. So she's basically this sweet, dainty, lovely girl living in Mumbai by herself. Her parents don't live there. She works at a travel agency. She has a few friends. She minds her own business. There's a lot of scenes of her going to work, coming back, commuting, going to the grocery shop, like, just having a very normal middle class working professional life. And then of course F has to come in like a hurricane and like upend everything. And there are numerous comments he makes to her and to his accomplices, where he implies that she's basically implying that she's too naive and stupid and innocent and gullible. And he's basically going to be like, what is she going to do? I'm going to be able to frame this woman, and I'm going to be able to ruin her life for my own, like, benefit. And she's not going to hit back. And I love the scenes where, like, there's one scene where Seth and her are in her apartment, and she starts screaming because she went into the kitchen to make tea or something, and she saw a mouse, and she's
Mm.
up on the countertop because she's terrified and she's having a complete meltdown. And then Seth manages to, like, he laughs at her and he's like, haha, you're scared of a mouse. And then later when she goes to jail, her first night in the prison cell, she screams and screams, and the jailers come. They're like, what happened? And her cellmate laughs at her saying, oh, she saw a mouse, because she's scared of them. And the jailer is like, haha, get used to it, this is prison. And eventually you see her becoming more and more bold. And then one day
Mm.
she's just looking at it, and she sees her untouched plate of food, and she's just calmly looking at the plate of food, and the mouse comes up, and there's a close-up of the mouse, and it's like, and it's like sniffing it and everything. And she's just so chill about it, and she picks up a really heavy thing and she goes smash, kills him, no expression on her face. Amazing. And then there's in the beginning of the movie, when she has her beautiful long hair, people call her different names. Like, there's this one cellmate who calls her Jalpari, which means mermaid.
Yeah.
And then at another point someone calls her Apsara, like, like a fairy. All these things, which are words that are used to describe Urmila's beauty, right? Because she has this kind of otherworldly charm about her. And she takes a razor in the jail cell and just like cuts off all of her hair.
Mm.
And she becomes this person who no longer takes crap from anybody. So that
Mm.
entire character arc is so well done. Props to the writer, props to the director. They did not rush it. It would have been so
Mm.
easy to do a very lazy kind of like a montage where there's like a
Yeah.
background music and, oh, look, this is the new Urmila who's not going to take shit from
Yeah.
anybody. But instead, and you see how everyone lets her down. Like, the lawyer that she thought was on her side is actually in Saif Ali Khan's pay. And so he has no intention of getting her out. Oh, he made me so angry.
Right.
And then when you see her break out of jail, and then she starts taking her revenge on people, nobody, not one person, believes that it doesn't even occur to them that she could be the one doing it. And I think this is also one of the ways in which Urmila, the actor, and her directors utilize her body.
Mm.
They utilize the fact that she doesn't look scary at all. She literally looks like this childlike person who couldn't hurt a fly. And that is why when she kills people in cold blood because she wants to take revenge on them, it's so shocking and scary. Like, I can see some of the other actresses, like I love Tabu in all of her femme fatale roles, but that's because Tabu, even at the best of times, keeps me guessing.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it's Tabu. She's saying this thing. Do I believe her? Do I take her face value? I don't know if I do. But with Urmila, you just feel like she's not capable of of hitting back at you. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about Ek Hasina Thi. Also, that ending where she just leaves him in the cave and walks away. And she says, it takes me, she says it in such a monotone way. She's just like, with her big eyes, and she's like, do you know how long it took for me to find this place? No one comes here, you know. And then she's like, but there are a lot of rats here. Do you remember how I was scared of rats? And Sefali is like, he's threatening her. He's like, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to kill you, you bitch. And he's saying all these nasty things. And she doesn't even react. She's just looking at him. And then she's like, anyway, I'm off. And then she just leaves. And he's screaming the entire time, like, what do you mean you're leaving? Oh, so satisfying. So great. But Ek Hasina Thi is like also one of those movies that I don't think anyone could have done it except Urmila. And I think her body type, I love that these people use that to the character's advantage, because, well, of course she's not going to be crazy. Of course she's not going to do anything bad. And then she does, and you're like, oh shit. Yeah. What was the other movie you watched?
Oh, I started Kunwara.
Oh yeah. But then that was a dud.
That was not for me.
So in Khoobsurat, I remember you WhatsApped me and you said that you were actually enjoying Sanjay Dutt and you weren't sure what was happening.
Yeah, I did enjoy that movie quite a bit. And it's not, why can I not remember the other film that I just saw where the same basic plot happens? Anyway, but it's, it's nothing groundbreaking, but I think he's really funny in it.
Yeah.
And I think of him as someone I tolerate rather than I actually
enjoy
anything about. And maybe that's not fair, but yeah, I don't really know what to do with him in my head as a presence, and the fact that he wildly does not remind me of either of his parents is, of course, interesting, but maybe he does that very much on purpose too. Like,
I have never understood how that man is Sunil Dutt and Nargis's child. Like, I could never. It's just astounding to me. But the other movie that I actually love that has Sanjay and Urmila in it, which is a very strange pairing if you think about it, but I love them in it, and that is Dord, which I made you watch.
Yeah, that was really fun. I actually thought about rewatching that, but then I decided to go for something I hadn't seen. But yeah, I like them together. Probably basically anyone could have done her role, and because we've seen this plot so many times, probably lots of other people could have done his as well. But there's something about, speaking of people playing to their physical, like, he's so tall and his limbs are so long that there's something about when he kind of appears and like leans over to give people advice or like hear what they are going to, the people in the family are telling him their various problems. There's something funny about it.
Yeah.
And often, obviously, it's used for menace, but it's not here at all. He's he is a criminal, but the point is he's appeared at this family because his friend, Johnny Lover, everyone's friend, has gotten intel that this family has a remote NRI relative who's coming to stay with them, and Johnny gets all the life story from him, gives it to Sanjay, who goes to the family, and he's trying to worm his way in to get money to pay off Paresh Rawal, to whom he owes money.
Oh, so he's pretending to be that rich NRI relative.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But of course he finds out he really likes the family, and he is an orphan. It's just established in the beginning. So he likes having a family, and he's kind of funny with the little kids, and I can fully believe that this was a belated attempt to do something about his image. Like, it's very warm and fuzzy with a few fight scenes in it. Like, he produced it or co-produced it. So like, Sanjay Dutt, lovable
rogue.
Lovable guardian angel. Like, man, I don't know. But
is he supposed to be like Sanjay Dutt, Mary Poppins?
Almost.
Move over, Julie Andrews.
Almost. It's so, but I don't know. I'm not going to advise anyone that they need to run right out and watch this, but it is fun. And the songs are, that song Shanali where he talks to her is very funny. And it's cute. It's heartwarming. I don't know what's wrong with me. But it's not, you can go through life without having seen it, most
Right.
certainly. But if you're in an Urmila mood after listening to this episode, I think you could do worse than this one, even though she's not the star. She can hold
Yeah.
her own in that situation pretty well. And she gets one of those roles where she is bookish and wears glasses and is
Mm.
sad and crabby
Oh.
because her mother died in childbirth, so she holds herself responsible for having killed her mother.
Oh.
And her father's drinking, her father is Ompuri. But
Oh.
then Sanjay helps her kind of do a makeover, takes away her books, and gives her advice on how to get a
How dare.
man. And
Oh Lord.
it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
I didn't have a problem with the makeover until you said take away her books, and I was like, excuse me, what? How
He
dare?
literally burns one of them.
No. Okay, that is not Sanjay that lovable rogue. That is wrong. Mary Poppins would never.
No, Mary Poppins would not burn your books. Now, I'm not sure what she's reading exactly, other than I believe at one point she's reading Gandhi's autobiography for the fifth time.
Okay.
She says something like, I've read this 5 times, but another time is good, or something like that. So she's a very serious young
Oh
woman.
Lord.
But
Okay.
she lightens up and whatever. But I think that probably could have been just about anyone, but she certainly
Right.
gives her own. I don't know what it takes to be a good co-star to Sanjay Dutt. I don't have a good enough like sense of what's his deal, you
Yeah.
know. So I'm not saying that Urmila is particularly good at it more than others, but I think she's fine.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
I feel
fine.
like whenever I think of Sanjay Dutt, I think of his deal as him being adult. Like he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer. And
Right.
it's also his like demeanor, his dialogue delivery. It's like even when he's doing action movies, which I've seen a lot of his action movies just because
Yeah.
I like action movies from the 80s and 90s. Even when he's doing action movies, he's not some like mastermind. He's just like boom boom, I'm going to bash your heads in, Like he's just
Yeah,
like Hulk smash.
there's a
And
fair amount of that.
when he's not actioning, even then he's kind of like a dolt. And it's like there's a very, very funny David Dhawan movie actually that has Sanjay Dutt and Govinda in it. It's called Hasina Manjayegi, and it has Karishma Kapoor.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that one's actually really funny because Govinda is like the mastermind. He's smart and he's always feeding these lines to Sanjay Dutt, who's clearly dumb. And but they're so funny together. Like they have so I would actually say that Sanjay Dutt's best co-star is probably Govinda. I don't
That's
know.
fair. And I can see them as different flavors that go,
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's not the same dynamics as in Partner, but again, you had the two very
Right.
different vibes of hero going
Yeah.
together that
It's
actually
like a
worked
bit of a
pretty
Dumb
well.
and Dumber or like a
Yeah.
Wayne's World sort of a thing going on.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you said about Khoobsurat can be said about the other movie, the palette
I
cleanser that I
bet.
chose, which was Dillagi. I was, of course, trying to find if there was like an Urmila movie with Sunny Deol, because why wouldn't I kill two birds
Yeah.
with one stone? And that was Dillagi. And that has two
Nice.
Deol brothers for the price of one. It also has Zohra Sehgal, which I love her. It has Dara Singh. I love him. So I was like, excellent. Let us watch this film. Um, the first thing that really surprised me about this movie was that there is a song called Dum Lak Lak that Sunny and Bobby are doing together, and Sunny was dancing nicely and enjoying himself. So I
Aw.
was very confused and I paused and I was like, what is this timeline I'm living in where Sunny Deol does not look like someone's pointed a gun at his head and made him do steps. I was like, he's actually having fun. What is happening? And then I
Aw.
WhatsApped you. But it's fine. As I had predicted, he went back to the grumpy Sunny Deol that we love. And in all subsequent songs, he absolutely looked like he was miserable. And I was like, yes, all is right with this world. There is one song where he is in the throes of first love. He has fallen in love with Urmila, and therefore, to express this amazing love, he falls repeatedly into their swimming pool. He jumps backward into the swimming pool, as one does when we are in love.
As
And
one
so he
does.
jumps. And then there are these underwater shots of him where he's under the water in the swimming pool and he's flailing. And I was like, wait, is Sunny drowning? What is happening? But no, that was dancing. That was dancing, Beth.
I
He
see.
was dancing. So he was like, ha ha, ye pyar hai. And I'm like, quick, save him, SOS. But nope, he resurfaced and all was fine. So romantic Sunny Deol in Dillagi was quite a sight to behold.
Sounds
It
like
was
it.
very strange. And I was like, can we just go back to like action Sunny? um, Also, I have to say, like the Sunny and Urmila pairing is also two flavors that I do not understand. They are very different flavors.
Yeah.
She is very of the fairy world, and he's very off the pinned. Like he is straight out of, like, and it's not straight out of Compton, but it's like straight out of Jalandhar, and she's from some fairy realm. So there was a lot of cognitive dissonance happening.
Got a pinned.
Straight out of pinned. And then Bobby Deol is like the comic relief, but he's also spoiled baby brother. So
Okay.
this movie has a lot of typical tropes in it, where they're brothers, of course, and Sunny is the older, serious, business-minded brother who is running their business, which is a hotel, which is called Kiran International, after their mom, who died when she was like, when they were very young. She had cancer. And he had promised his mom that he would always take care of his baby brother. Said baby brother is Bobby Deol. Bobby Deol goes to college, but does not actually believe in studying. He is a hellraiser. His introduction in this movie is where he's doing some sort of like dirt bike race with someone else, and they almost fall off the cliff, but they don't. And he has all of these friends. He has these very weird friends, like 5 or 6 friends, and they keep saying dialogues like, "You're the best, Rocky. We love you, Rocky. Rocky is the best." I was like, how have I never had friends who just randomly follow me around saying things like, "Betu is the best"? I mean, I feel like I would enjoy it, but it hasn't happened yet. So he doesn't do anything beyond have long hair and party. Every scene of Bobby in this movie is him in a nightclub. And I will say he's a very vigorous and enthusiastic dancer. So props to him. At least he doesn't look like he's sad. His romance with Urmila is actually very cute. So she's in his college and eyes lock, and they fall in love with each other, as one does. And they party together, and they're having a good time. And they actually have really good chemistry. I think this is the only Urmila Bobby Deol movie I've ever seen. I don't know if there are more, but they're kind of fun together. They're like fun and cute and dancing together and having a good time.
I can see that.
It's like a very lighthearted, frothy, college-y energy that they have. So it's actually very enjoyable, and their romance is very believable. And then, of course, Bobby is bad and he behaves badly, and then they break up. Because he's commitment phobic and he has no interest in ever getting married, and he just wants to play the field and cheat on her and stuff like that. So they break up. And then meanwhile, Sunny Deol has fallen in love with her because he saw her somewhere. And Zora Sehgal and Dara Singh bring his rishta to Urmila's house. And the family is, of course, so happy. It's Kulbhushan Karbanda and Reema Lagu are her parents, and they're like, "Oh my God, we would love to have Sunny Deol as our damad." And then they have a romance, and now it's become a love triangle. Which of the brothers is gonna get Urmila? Because Bobby ain't gonna go quietly into the night, because now that she's betrothed to someone else, now Bobby wants her back. So Bobby's a no good person. And then what happens in the end? I was, of course, rooting for Sunny to get her, and he does. But this movie is very weird. It's very basic. Yeah, it's very basic. I will actually say that the direction is pretty decent. I don't know why I sound so surprised, but I don't really think of Sunny Deol as a director, but I thought he did a really good job as a debutante director. It's the story that is so basic. We've seen the story a million times. But yeah, she's cute in it. She's really darling. She has some good scenes where she has to tell Bobby off because, he just thinks that he can do whatever he wants because he's a rich boy. And I was like, yes, atta girl. And then there's scenes where Sunny has to tell Bobby off because he's like, just because you're a rich boy, it doesn't mean you can do. This movie has a lot of people wagging their finger at Bobby, and Bobby just doesn't listen to them.
Always the Bobby Sans in Bobby's head.
Bobby Sans is all about Bobby not listening to anyone and just continuing to like do foolish things, like drunk driving, making scenes. Bobby's a bad news Bobby in this movie.
Sounds like a bad news Bobby.
He's a very bad news Bobby. We need to send him back to the pind. But yeah, so Sunny makes an effort, but it's impossible to buy his romance with Urmila because they're just
Mm,
so different and there is a zero chemistry between them. Believe me, she tries. Like
yeah.
they have this very popular romantic song that's picturized on them. It's called Kya Ye Sach Hai. I remember when this movie came out, which was in 99, this song was very popular for a while. It's very like slow motion, romantic, almost has like a
Hmm.
dreamlike vibe to it, a little bit like there's some songs like that, right? Like there's a song in Dil Chahta Hai like that, and just
Yeah.
there's a song in Kabhi Haan Kabhi Na with sort of like a surreal quality, shot at his farmhouse. The screen caps I sent you of the puppies are from that farmhouse. So he's basically showing her his world. Like when I'm
Okay.
not in the office, I'm here at my farmhouse.
Mm.
There's a scene where he's also on a tractor because it's sunny. So even when he's a multimillionaire, he's still going to be on that tractor. You can't stop him. So it's just a very odd combination of people doing odd things together,
Sounds
but
it.
it's entertaining. If only for that song where he's flailing around
Okay.
underwater pretending to be dancing. So I wouldn't
Pretending
say
to
that.
be dancing.
Yeah, I was very concerned for two
Sanjay Dutt
seconds.
or Sunny Deol doesn't dance, he pretends to dance.
He does. So I wouldn't necessarily say that people should run out and watch Dillagi. They're not missing much, but if you want to see a very odd pairing together of two people that I greatly enjoy but do not enjoy together, and if you want to see Bobby being bad, then you can watch Dillagi. But yeah, it's a cute movie. Have you seen Urmila's movies Con and Booth, or are they too scary for you?
Ooh, scary.
Yeah, they are too scary, to be fair. There's a lot of jump scares in them, but they're very good. I mean,
I'm
for fans of
sure.
horror, those are very good movies to watch. She's especially good in Con. Um, I really like her in Judai too. I mean, to be able to hold your own in the same frame as Sridevi is quite an achievement, I would
Hmm.
say. But she's really good. You know what I was thinking about when I was watching her dances in Dillagi? Because she doesn't have any dances in Ek Hasina Thi. That's just not the kind of movie Ek Hasina Thi is. Um,
Yeah.
but I was thinking to myself, when Yash Chopra offered Dil To Pagal Hai to Juhi Chawla, I mean, he had already signed Shah Rukh and Madhuri, and he wanted Juhi for the second lead, and she said no. And then he went to Karishma. I was like, why didn't he sign Urmila? Urmila
Yeah.
is a better dancer, and she would have been able to hold her own, and she would have been also done a better job than Karishma. So I'm like, you asked Juhi, but you didn't ask Urmila, so that surprised me.
Mm.
But I think Urmila is one of those people that does suffer from the the campiness that it's not campiness, just the camps that exist in
Oh.
Bollywood, where
Uh-huh.
because of her association with Ram Gopal Verma,
Yeah.
the Chopras and the Johars aren't going to give you a movie.
Well,
So
so perhaps to this point, although it's maybe too early, I was looking at just the Wikipedia entry for Rangeela, and I was like, why did it not win more film fairs? And I was like,
mm.
DDLJ is why it didn't. Same
Oh,
year.
okay.
And if you think Kajol is a better actor in that film than Urmila, I would like to have some words with you. Like, I don't think Kajol is terrible in DDLJ, but I don't think there's any doubt that Urmila was better. I didn't even look at what else was nominated that year, but I was like, DDLJ
Yeah,
got best film, it got best director, it got all this stuff, and Rangeela won some, but
yeah.
but
DDLJ isn't even a better movie than Rangeela.
no,
Rangeela is heads and tails above DDLJ in
absolutely.
every
Like
way.
I
And I say that as a
know,
Shah Rukh Khan fan.
yeah, it doesn't it yeah, Amir is better than he is in his
Mhm.
respective role. Like there's just no contest. And
Yeah.
I know we all know the film fairs are silly, but I was still
Yeah.
annoyed.
Yeah. No, I definitely think I think also part of the reason that she doesn't get talked about as like a superstar, like if you look at this woman's body of work, it's astounding. Like the amount of movies that she's done and the kind of work that she's done.
Mm.
She really should be talked about more than she is. But I think it's just the camps that exist in Bollywood, and the fact that if, especially at that era, if you were not in the Chopra camp, or if you weren't in
Hmm.
the Karan Johar, Dharma camp, then you didn't really have that much of a chance. And then you needed to find other directors that would work with you, which in her case, she had Ram Gopal Verma. So that was great. He gave her all these good roles. But then she's also done work with like Rajkumar Santoshi. She's worked with the Deols. She's worked with, she's done a lot of, like not a lot, but she's done some like Telugu, Malayalam movies as well. And I was looking at her Wikipedia entry. I haven't seen any of those, but she apparently won like some awards down south as well for some of those films that she did. Like she won like a Nandi Award and stuff. So I think she's definitely one person whose career was hurt a lot by the camps. And for her to still have an amazing career and have this amazing filmography is in large part because like she was just so good an actor that newer directors cast her, because otherwise I don't know if she would have gone as far as she did. So yeah.
I I was thinking that I know very little about her life outside of
She's
films,
very private.
which is fine and good for her. Although I
Yeah.
did know she joined the Shiv Sena at one point.
Yeah.
I was like, oh girl. But I say in an orange sweater, but
All right.
um yeah, good for her for keeping her
Yeah, she's
life
very
pretty
private.
quiet.
She has spoken in interviews about how she basically just has friends from school, and she doesn't
Oh.
really like to like interact with like the filmy people, because you never see her at like any of the filmy do's and stuff. And I think she's just this private person. I follow her on Instagram, and she recently got divorced, or
Oh.
filed for divorce. She's been married for like 8 years to this
Hmm.
guy, who I think a lot of people had pegged as bad news when she married him anyway. But she's basically a dog mom, which is what I like about her. She posts a lot of pictures. She has like 4 dogs, and she
No.
posts a lot of pictures of them, which I enjoy. She's also very well spoken. Like I've seen some of her interviews, and she turned 50 last year. She's like
Mm-hmm.
1974 born, and she's spoken in multiple interviews about being child free. And she's said things like, I don't understand why there's an assumption that just because you're a woman you have to have children, and like what the hell. So I like the fact that she's also very like open and direct about that. And every interview I've seen of hers, and I haven't seen a ton, but whatever little interviews of hers I've seen, she emphasizes the importance of like, study, get a good job, be good at your career, don't let people tell you what you can and cannot do, apply yourself. And then of course she also, because every interview they ask her about the fact that she's married but doesn't have children. And I mean,
Yeah.
I think they've started doing that with Vidya Balan as well. And I don't know what Vidya Balan says, but Urmila is one of the people that will like openly be like, not everyone wants kids, and
Yeah.
that's okay. And I have my dogs and I love my dogs, and I'm like, there you go.
Good for her.
So yeah, I think that's also the other reason why she doesn't get talked about as much, because she doesn't really keep herself in the
Yeah.
public eye as much, which I'm like, that's great. Just go enjoy life with your dogs, and hopefully the divorce isn't going to be as traumatic as divorces usually are. But yeah. Okay, favorite part of the episode, ice cream time.
So each of the four movies I watched has a dialogue about ice cream in it.
What?
I know. I'm just like, well, wait, I'm waiting for them to say what flavor. They never mention a flavor. But in Rangeela, for example, Muna
Uh-huh.
tries to buy her an ice cream on the street. She's like, no, I don't want any. And he's like, how can you? I'm buying. How can you don't want ice cream? But then later she gets one at the amusement park with her
Okay.
dad. But yeah, they all have. I think Khoobsurat had just a mention, right? It's not the point. Even Kunwara in the part that I watched mentions ice cream.
Yeah.
Like, why? What is going on here?
Oh, that
Um,
is so funny.
so I had a hard time with this because, as I said, I left this project feeling more confused than I went into it.
Hmm.
Um, I'm heavily influenced by Rangeela here, but
Mm.
I feel like it's proportional to how that film features in her career and her filmography. So I'm okay with that. And I don't think I've said this for anyone else. I'm going to say that she is Rainbow Sherbet.
Ah, okay. That
So
makes
it
sense.
is Rangeela. It is very colorful. It usually, in my world at least, it has three flavors in it at once, but I think that also speaks to how
Hmm.
um, not to say
Multi-talented.
multi-pronged, multi-talented
Right.
she is, right? Um, and that it is something that is refreshing.
Yeah.
And where I live anyway, it's usually orange, lime, and then probably raspberry, I think, sherbet together. So it's got a little bit of a zip. It's not tart, it's not sour, but it's got a little bit of a zip to it with the lime
Mm.
and the raspberry. So I feel like and she's got, you know,
Yeah. Good
hot
spa.
fire and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. All these words that we say about women, we don't say about men. But
Right.
so that was the best I came up with, but s- I'm not attached to it, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say.
So there is a dialogue in Ek Hasina Thi. It is not about ice cream,
Oh.
but it's at this really frightening juncture where Seth has basically figured out that she's the one who's been
Mm.
leaving these trail of dead bodies, and he's really mad at her. And there's a really scary scene where he like really takes out his anger on her, like beats her up and stuff, and he's playing psychological games with her. And at that point he says, the first time I saw you, all I wanted to do was sleep with you, because I looked at you and I just knew that there's some fire in her. And so, but he's just being, Seth in this movie,
Yeah,
Beth,
gross.
is so frustrating because, first of all, he looks gorgeous in
Yeah.
every frame, which is infuriating. I'm like, this man is horrible. Do not make him gorgeous. Stop it. And he has all these close ups where he's really laying it on thick. And when Seth lays it on thick, I'm buying it. Right. And I'm like, stop it. Stop looking good. And then he's such an asshole. I hate him so much.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that made me think of, those Mexican ice creams that are like chocolate or whatever, but then they have chile in them.
Yeah.
And when you're eating it, you don't
Yeah.
necessarily know it has chile, but then you're like, oh, spicy. So that's what I picked for her.
We used that for somebody else too, didn't we?
We did. I think so.
Okay.
I can't
Okay.
remember.
Now
I
some,
can't
at least
remember
at
who we
least where
used it
I've
for.
experienced them, some of them it's a ripple so you can see
Right.
it, but sometimes it's mixed in, and like you said, especially with the chocolate where it's hidden by the brown, you don't see
Yeah.
it. So
Hmm.
slight variations here.
And I picked the chocolate because it's like she does these very like rich characters,
Mm,
right? Like they're not vanilla. I think the one thing Urmila is not is vanilla. That would be
correct.
Ranbir Kapoor.
Right. Just not an insult.
It's not an insult. So I like the fact that it's like rich and kind of like got some substance to it, but then it
Yeah.
has that chili in it. And especially if you're just like mindlessly shoveling ice cream into your mouth because you're watching whatever you're watching, it can really surprise you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the ice cream I chose for her.
I like that. One more thing before we close.
Hmm.
Where are we putting her in our rank of best hair in Bollywood? Because I think she might be three behind
I love her
Dimple and
hair.
Amrita Singh.
It's so
She might even be number two.
bouncy.
She might be above Amrita Singh.
Yeah. So best hair, that award will always go to Dimple Kapadia, our
Right.
queen. No one will ever take it from her. Um, I think for me, number two is still gonna be Simi Garewal.
Mm,
I still really, really love Simi Garewal's hair. So number one for me is Dimple. Number two is Simi Garewal, and I think I would be comfortable with Urmila being number three.
okay.
Yeah, because I love her bouncy curls and
Uh,
everything. So nice. They're really beautiful in Judai as well.
yeah. In Khoobsurat, nope, sorry. In the Fatal Attraction one, it's
Mm.
2001, and I would imagine maybe it was filmed a smidge earlier. She has the Rachel.
Ah, okay.
And it took me a long time to stop staring at her hair because I'm like, man, the chokehold that haircut had on a lot of us. I don't know if you ever had it because your hair
No.
is so
Mm-mm.
long. I've had it so many times. People still try to give me the Rachel
Really?
sometimes, and I'm like, it's because I have kind of thick hair. So people are like, let's layer it. I'm like, don't
Yeah,
do it like the Rachel, because it's so specific to that time period. But
it
seeing
is.
her in it, I was like, she's still pretty and everything, but I was like, no,
Don't do that.
don't do
No.
that.
No,
Don't do it.
her signature look honestly is the curls. The big floofy curls. She looks so
90s
good in
big
those.
hair, right? Yeah.
Really beautiful. And it also bounces beautifully when she's dancing.
Yeah.
Because she has all these, like in Rangeela, when she's just like like gallivanting through
Yeah.
town like that, and she
Yeah.
keeps shaking her hair, and it's so
And
happy.
her
It's
little
so
braids are
happy and
cute
lovely.
too when she does that,
Yeah,
but it's yeah, it's not a patch on the free what is that word?
voluminous, voluminous.
Voluminous. There it is.
Yeah, it's like it's a
Uh
mane
yeah, it's
that she has.
magical.
Yeah, it's really pretty. Yeah, so I would give her number 3. Are you giving her number 2 or number 3 in
I
hair?
I think I'll probably give her three. Behind for me, it's behind Amrita Singh, but
Ah, okay.
and
Okay. Yeah.
Dimple, but
So our 1 and 3 are the same. It's 2 where
yeah,
we're diverging. But
yeah.
Simi Garewal and Amrita Singh have similar hair. It's just Simi
Mm,
Garewal's is a lot longer.
mm,
Yeah. And Amrita's is silkier, I would say.
mm.
Interesting. Is this part of our Cuckoo Banana Awards that we are going to give people? This is
Maybe,
our
yeah,
best
when we make
hair.
our Cuckoo Bananas award show.
Best dancing underwater where you're actually flailing goes to Sunny Deol in Dillagi. All dancing awards go to. It's actually called the
Best
Sunny Deol Award for Dance.
Best stalking underwater also goes to Sunny Deol from Dar.
Well, he didn't stalk anyone in Dar.
He he
Shahrukh stalks.
No, in the pool. Remember, Juhi's in the pool and
Really?
he's trying to pull her under and she's terrified and he's like, ha ha ha, ha, it's me,
Oh,
your
yes, I had
fiance.
forgotten that scene. I had
Worst.
completely
Not
forgotten that
it's
scene.
not it's horrible. Like for a
But he's
walk
like,
away.
I know you're terrified and you have PTSD. Let me give you more PTSD. Haha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the dark and it's dark. Like truly wretched.
I really want to watch Dar again one of these days. That movie is the gift that keeps on giving, I have to say.
Mm.
You know, Urmila and Juhi actually share the same hairstyle.
Mm-hmm.
The big voluminous
Mm-hmm.
curls. And then Madhuri had that. I mean, there was that era in the 90s where
Mm-hmm.
everybody had that. Karishma had that hair
Karishma, yeah.
too. Yeah, they all had it. I think even Aishwarya had it.
Mm.
Yeah, even Aishwarya had it in some of her movies, but then she quickly realized that the straight looks better on her and she stopped with it. But okay, did you have any lasting thoughts or
No, but
we can call this episode?
tell me what I should make of Urmila because I don't know. I've got a couple more things I might try to watch at some point here, and I just what a fascinating filmography.
Yeah, maybe I'll get you to watch Corn or Booth
No,
at like 2 in the afternoon,
no,
blinding sunlight with Mr. Hugo Watkins protecting you.
I might watch Must, but we'll see.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know because this is the thing. I read, quite a few plot summaries. I'm like,
Yeah, that is the exact way I would describe Must
or
also.
or I mean, we talked about this a little, but I don't think of someone where I really want to see her paired with him. And that's
Mm,
not necessary, but it's obviously a
yeah.
piece of stardom of the
Yes.
way people are depicted and used and things like that. So uh, part of me was
I
like, is
think
she ever with Abhishek? And I was like, that's weird. And they are in a couple
that
movies
is a
together,
weird
but not.
pairing.
But I was like, who else is kind of around in this late 90s time and everything? And I was like, I don't. And with Amir, it's hard to imagine anything but Rangeela,
Yeah.
so which
She's
maybe
with
that's
Shahrukh in Chamatkar, which
Chamatkar,
was
right?
her second Hindi movie, and Chamatkar is pretty terrible.
Yeah, so
I
like they're
enjoy
not
it,
a
but it's bad.
dynamite pair.
Yeah.
I was enjoying her with Govinda, but you got to put up with the David Dhawan nonsense, which sometimes
Yeah.
is worse than other times. Maybe
She's in one, maybe 2 movies with Salman as well. The
I saw that. I wonder if that's a better.
Pyaar something. I don't remember it. What it's some
She's
generic. It's
with
not a
Salman.
movie you have
PR
to
something
watch.
describes every movie ever.
Uh, yeah, there's a bicycle in it, Beth. I don't know. Uh,
Are they in Switzerland? Maybe, something.
I think it was drizzling.
Yeah.
That's
So I have
like
a hard
every
time.
romantic song.
And maybe that's why one reason Rangeela is so good is because the romances are fairly irrelevant to how
Yeah.
amazing she and her character are. Is like she by herself, she is more than enough.
But that's the other problem with the campiness, with the
Yeah, of
camps, right? I
course.
keep saying campiness, but I mean the camps. It's like,
Camps. Yeah.
even if she could have had an amazing chemistry with, say, Shahrukh, which we've only seen them in Chamatkar together, even if she could have had that, Dharma and the Chopras had a chokehold on him, and they
Yeah.
had their people that they always cast, right? So if they're never going to give her a shot, how is she going to work opposite Shahrukh? Maybe they could have been a great pair too. But if you keep casting Kajal and shoving
Yeah.
her down our throat, then
I
you
noticed that
know
neither of us watched a movie where she's paired with AJ Devgan, and she is in a lot of movies with him, it seems
That's
like. And
because Ajay Devgan is an avoideur for me.
yeah, I mean, he's not a selling point for me, certainly. And I have seen them in Divangi, but I think they're pair. I mean, they're both in that. And I ended up
Right.
not rewatching that, but I don't know.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, because the movies that I feel like she was kind of the hero of her movies, though. You know what I mean? Like maybe that also could have been a part in why,
Yeah.
because if you think about the giant egos that the male actors have, if you're doing a movie like Con, you're doing a movie like Booth, where she is the focal point, what hero is gonna agree to do those movies where they know they don't have much going on? Even in Satya, I mean, Satya
Fardeen
was
Khan.
right. So, that makes it harder. It's like,
Hmm.
because she's the star of the show. I mean, Saif
Yeah.
Ali Khan was in Ek Hasina Thi. They actually have really good chemistry and they look really good together. But he also had a lot of importance in Ek
Yeah.
Hasina Thi. It wasn't just her show, even though she walked away with a lot of the accolades.
Yeah.
But so I think that was also kind of it. Like, if you know the movie is gonna be hers, who's gonna be willing to take on a smaller role too? And maybe she was like, I don't care about the hero, just give me the great script and I'll run with it.
Yeah.
So, which is a great decision to make.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay. I think that concludes this episode, and we will see you guys next week. And tell us in the comments what you think. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.